Forms. Forms are everywhere on the web. We use forms to register at websites, apply for new credit cards, and even buy movie tickets. But in this new age of AI, are forms really the right way to gather information? In this episode, we're talking with Nicholas from Typeform, a company with many years of experience helping customers create forms.
I mean, for us on our side, this is what we've been believing in for the last 12 years with Typeform. This is the exact purpose of Typeform. Is like we didn't want to make forms just to make forms. We want
Yeah.
forms and the web to be more human and feel like you were interacting with a brand and you're talking to a brand, but not just like collecting information.
Before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We have really exciting episodes coming up on topics such as the AI alignment problem, AI in education, and AI writing detection software.
This is the OpenAI Changes Everything podcast with your host, Stephen Walther, where we explore how OpenAI is transforming the future of humanity.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am so excited today. I have Nicholas Grenet, which I hope I haven't butchered your name at the very beginning, but Nicholas Grenet, who's joining us from Typeform. And Nicholas lives between Barcelona and San Francisco. And he built his first website in 2000 using Microsoft Word. Yes. Wow. I'm going to have to ask you about that. But and since then, he hasn't stopped learning about programming. He likes to build projects involving APIs and connecting people together. So welcome to the show today.
Yeah, hi. Very excited to be here.
So I really wanted to talk to you about what your company, Typeform, is doing with OpenAI, because I think there's really some exciting stuff. I know you guys were an early adopter of OpenAI. And so I love to see how people are using it in their products because it's an exciting new territory. But first, I want to ask you about you. I want to ask you about what's life been like for you. I know you've been moving back and forth between Barcelona and San Francisco. Are there things that you love about San Francisco that you miss when you get to Barcelona? Other way around. What's it like living in two different countries? I'm assuming there's different tech cultures. What's the experience like?
Yeah, and then add a third country. I'm originally from France. I moved back to Barcelona after almost 6 years in San Francisco, but a lot of the back and forth. If you're a foreigner in the States, you know how that works. But I mainly went to San Francisco because that was the place where things were happening. That's still the case. There's a lot of tech going on there, and then we see it right now with the AI boom that's happening there. But there are other tech hubs, and I think that's the mission that I have now. Moving back to Barcelona is like being in a new tech hub, trying to be part of this community and show the world that other things are happening in other places too. It's not just Silicon Valley and San Francisco. It's still the place, but there are other places too.
Nice. And you're a developer advocate at Typeform. I'm curious what your day-to-day life is. What do you get excited about? What do you do? I mean, when you say you're like part of the tech community, I'm trying to envision what does that look like for you? What gets you up in the morning? What are you excited about doing during the day?
Yeah. So developer advocate, it's usually part of a developer relation team. That means that we're here for the developers. Our customers are the developers. We want to make sure they have the best experience when they come to interact with our product. In my case, Typeform is not really a developer product. We're actually the opposite. We want everybody to be able to ask questions and create surveys, even if they don't know how to code. But we do have an API part of the product. And so this is what I'm looking after. This is the people I'm trying to help. And those people could be customers that are trying to connect their Typeform to other tools, building complex workflows. It could be partners that are looking to build an integration between their SaaS product and ours. So it's a bit of like partner engineering. Or it could also be more like enterprise, bigger accounts that are actually integrating deep into their system. Or even like me, part of the stuff that I do is a bit of exploration, a bit of like, how would you say that, proof of concept type of thing. It's like Is
Yeah.
it possible to do ChatGPT plugging? What does it mean to make your own GPT nowadays? What does it take to integrate through a Zapier to other workflow tools? So we know what's out there. And so most of the things that I do
Yeah.
is talking to customers,
Yeah.
learning about what they do, and like trying to help them out.
Awesome. All right. Well, let me ask about Typeform and OpenAI. I know you guys start working with OpenAI very early days. Curious about how that relationship started, what that relationship is like, because you've been taking advantage of like a lot of new features of OpenAI, building into your products. Have you had a close sort of relationship with them, or is it more like, you brainstorm stuff on your side and then you bring the ideas over to them? Just curious how you developed the ideas that you ended up pursuing.
Yeah, so I think like everybody else, when the things became available, we tried to be part of the beta.
Yep.
And that's like a whole relationship thing, like trying to play on the brand that you have, on the use cases that you're trying to bring that are a bit different than others. And there you build a relationship with like who could be an account manager on the other side, who could be on the partnership over there. And eventually that's how you get access to different beta. And then from there, you have to showcase what you've built. I think this is our story. In terms of product, we did stuff directly into the Typeform product. So anything that helps you make it easier to build a form. We kind of facing a blank page issue when people are getting into creating a form. They don't really know how to start or what is the right way to ask questions. So everything that we build around AI in the Typeform product is really to help them. Is it on a way you're describing the project and the project you're building right now? I'm like, I need a customer feedback survey for this bank that I'm working for. We just launched a campaign online. We're doing a giveaway, and then we're so and so. This is the tone. Then it creates a form for you, and it gives you already like a kickstart. Is it you're asking a question and you try to reformulate it so it goes straight to the point? It gets you better results. So we're trying to have AI help you there. Or when you're asking for like, what is your favorite dessert? Instead of going really one by one, thinking about all the possible dessert in the world,
Right.
there is an AI that's helped you. It's like, all right, let me generate 20 options, 10 options. So you get straight to the point and you don't lose time entering everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, it feels like there's two approaches. When there's a new disruptive technology like OpenAI, you can either think about your existing product, which, Typeform, already great product. You can think about like how you can use this new technology to enhance it, or you can build a completely new product, which I think you guys also did, right, with Formless. And so
Yeah.
you've taken two approaches to it. I guess, did you put like, how did you think about approaching that? I mean, was that more like, did you say, hey, this is going to change things so much that we have to create a new product around it? Or was it more like, I don't know. I'm curious about like the thought process that went into that.
I mean, for the story of Formless, so Formless is a product that's aside of Typeform. It was originally created by David, one of the co-founders of Typeform. It's like an idea that he had, and then he brought a team with him to build this and make it real. I think it's the continuity of the Typeform product, right? Where we want people to ask the right question at the right time to the right people, but also have a conversation and not like name, email, address. So like it's more like, hey, how are you? What's how is it going on today? What is your name? Or how do you like to be called? All right, Nico, great to meet you. What's your email address? Or like, and then anything like this. In the type form, you had to hard code this because everybody that was going through the form will have the same type of interaction. The question that says like, how do you like to be called will be the same for everybody. In this case here with Formless, you're just giving guidance on this is the questions that I need to answer. This is the information I need to collect. And this is my brand. This is what we represent. That's the product we're selling. This is how we talk about it. And eventually, the AI model is going to run this conversation and is going to make the conversation. And so the way it's going to interact with you and the way it's going to interact with me might be different, but just following the guidelines. And so I don't have to code the whole conversation. I don't have to write the script of the whole conversation. I just give the guidance.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, it's a completely different experience. I mean, I like how you're phrasing it in terms of like formless is perhaps like an evolution of type form, or at least an experimentation about what the future of this could look like. But I mean, it is a very, very different experience because like if you use type form, you have set out questions and you're going through and you're answering. But if you're using formless, it's like talking to ChatGPT. It's like a conversational thing. And it says surprising and witty things. And it's kind of like interacting with a person. And you have the whole kind of more conversational human interaction thing going that you just don't get, filling out a standard form, which is, which is really interesting. I mean, I think, I mean, one of the questions that I keep asking myself about, like the change that OpenAI and other large language models are making to the world is a conversational interface just fundamentally better than previous interfaces like forms and I don't know, toggles and buttons, the standard stuff that you get on web pages. Is it more intuitive? Is it more natural? I'm curious what you think about that. I mean, you're talking about the evolution of sort of like type form into these different stages. Do you think that conversation is something that people will engage with more?
I mean, for us on our side, this is what we've been believing in for the last 12 years with Typeform. This is the exact purpose of Typeform. Is like we didn't want to make forms just to make forms. We want
Yeah.
forms and the web to be more human and feel like you were interacting with a brand and you're talking to a brand, but not just like collecting informations, right?
Yep.
You're building this relationship. So that's why the conversation aspect of Typeform is really already there. That's why it's one question at a time. So that was already there for us. Is like conversation is the right thing. We have some stats that show that the conversational aspect converts better, gives you better data, and people are actually happier when they fill up this type of form than when they're just a regular form.
Is that that's the 10 times better at any touch point metric? I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that, okay, awesome. Yeah, no, that's very cool. I mean, because I want to make sure that people are listening to this understand sort of what Formless does. And I just, I mean, I was really impressed because I was impressed by how much sort of control you have over design, which is a big deal. Background videos, all of the colors, all of that YouTube videos you can integrate. I thought that was very cool. So there's a lot of control over the appearance of the thing. But I was also, happily surprised by how you can list the exact sort of fields that you need from people, like whether you need an email address or a, favorite color or whatever, and it will ask all the questions. You can tell it exactly the information you want, and it'll go through and provide it with you. But what really impressed me about it is it did it in a non-obnoxious kind of like it did it in a conversational way. And so it was like it would go from one topic to another, but it was very much like you asked someone to gather this information from a customer. And so it was more like interacting with a customer, which I guess leads me to the next question. I mean, I think we've all had experience like interacting with chatbots on websites. I had to help my daughter last week do her college loan application, and I spent like an hour with this chatbot. And I got to tell you, I started screaming at the chatbot by the end of the interaction because it was just like, it was so dumb. I mean, it was like, please, please give me a human because I need an answer to this one question. And I guess, what makes Formless different from that type of chatbot experience? And it does feel very different. And I guess I'm curious about why it doesn't create the same level of frustration, or it's a different type of experience than a chatbot one.
Yeah, I mean, the chatbot space is moving fast right now. But if we look at what it used to be, you had to script the whole thing and define intents, right?
Yeah.
So in your case, you're like, I need help with this loan. Well, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, need help with this loan? Then that's the next step. That's what they want. And then we're like, this is what we can do for you. Tell me what's the next step. Like very much how you interact with your Alexa, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I need the weather. Oh, you didn't tell me where. Now I need to find out where. Where do you need the weather? And so like something very scripted. And so when it's very scripted, it's hard to go off script. And if it doesn't follow the right syntax, the right grammar, then the chatbot is lost. As like I think the old way of making chatbots. Right now with the LLM and the understanding they have and the way you have to to create those, then there's more flexibility on how you convey the message and how you write and how you interpret it and what you can do with it. And so that's why, like with Formless, the only thing that you have to say is, I need to collect the name and the email address and then why they're here, right? The way you're going to ask it is going to be built by the engine. The way you're going to do the error handling, so you send me an email address, but instead of putting the email address, you put your name. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay. I understood. That was not the email address, but I understood that was the name. And then I'm not going to ask you the name question because I already have it. And so it does all this for you. If you check the old chatbot stuff, you'd be like, not a name, not an email. There's going to complain about this. So it's like, it's really the evolution of those chatbots. And so like we made this a lot smarter for you. All the error handling, again, like compared to what we can do on Typeform, if it was not this, you will have to code all those paths and logic, or be like checking that it's the right email, checking that an email is like not a personal email but a work email instead. Like this is some stuff that we don't have yet in the Typeform product that right now you got out of for free from Formless because of the power of the LLM stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the other aspect of it I like quite a bit is how you can specify the tone of the conversation. And I mean, that's kind of fun. I mean, for different scenarios. And yeah, so it does feel like a very different experience. I guess one question is, I mean, how are people using it right now? I mean, are they using it for all the same sort of situations as they were using Typeform in the past for, or are there, like new scenarios, or what's the strangest way you've come across that people have been using Formless?
We get all sorts of things because it's a very horizontal product. People can use it in different organizations, different companies, different things. Even internally, we did some tests, and then we had people that used it with like to be your internal counselor, mental health help type of
Wait a
thing.
minute, this thing can help me with my mental health. That's interesting.
I don't think I would recommend that, but at least
Okay.
like you're dropping some stuff about how you feel today, and then I think the tone was a bit more witty, so it's like, again, what's going on with you? And it's like they're trying to be teasing you a bit, so
Right.
like to show like we push it to the limit to see how far you can go in terms of tone, how far you can go in terms of interactions.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a real use case, but that was interesting to explore. But yeah, we have people that use it for collecting the leads. I think this is the main thing that we have with this type of forms. Like go straight to the content, get a better interaction, like something different. So like this, you have better results. Product feedback is one of them as well. How we get feedback from the people. So they also, something that we have here is like, even the conversation stops, then we have collected information until then. So we don't have to wait until they get to the end of the form to collect all the information. So people can stop anytime, and so you can keep asking questions until like they get tired and they're done. So that's also very interesting. Yeah, I mean we've seen a lot of things. Like there are a few companies that are listed on the website on like how they do the different lead structure they have, the better user feedback that they can collect. Automation. I mean, this could be this is more like what can happen next once the data is collected, is like how you automate the process later on, how you connect to the rest of your tool. But this is like the first front aspect of things. What I built something also where I use it as a way to create a pitch. So you describe give me the name of the company the project you're building, what is the thing that it's doing, and then it helps you write a pitch for it, like a one-liner pitch.
Oh, nice.
So you can also use it to kind of wrapper into some of the open API stuff, but at least like you make a small product out of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, one of the other aspects I really like about how Formless works is it has all this stuff built in, so you can train it, right? I mean, you can provide URLs, you can provide documents, you can provide even like snippets of information about your product. So that's very cool because I'm assuming. Well, actually, yeah. Tell me about. I mean, when would I want to take advantage of that? When would I want to be able to provide all that data to it?
Yeah, I mean, if you take the lead generations thing, people might just drop their contact details and that's it. That's the end of their experience. But they might take this opportunity to ask questions. So be like, oh, what about the pricing? Do you have something special for students? Or do you have a data center in the EU? Like asking questions about your product. And so if you add this information to the knowledge of the formless, either by dropping a PDF or by scraping a web page or even by writing your own snippets about different things, then this is information that becomes available. And so instead of having the formless answer like, I don't know, go talk to someone, but like, well, that's exactly why I'm here. I need
Right.
this information. Then the formless can answer back and be like, actually, I know about this type of things and I can help you. So we did some stuff, for example, on a conference website, where we wanted to use the form to convince people to attend the conference. And so we uploaded all the information about the speakers, uploaded all the information about the bios of the speaker, what they're going to talk about, the different talks at different times, the pricing, the location, the accommodation. And so then you can go and be like, who are you? What is your profile? Are you a marketer? Are you someone in engineering? Then this is the recommendation we have for you. And this, again, that was not scripted. It was like out of the information that it got from the talks, it was able to recommend you this conference, this track, those talks. And then if you needed talking points to convince your manager to go to that conference, then there was something about, well, for this price, you get to meet that many people to go to a very awesome event and all that. So that was pretty cool.
That is very awesome. I mean, that's very different from, again, going back to the college loan chatbot experience where it's just a robot and you're frustrated because you can't talk to a human. I mean, these are the details that we want, right? I mean, it's amazing we're at the point where the technology where it can actually sell a product for a company and be able to understand what the user wants and be able to interact in that way and have all that, information to back it. That's pretty incredible. I was also really impressed that at the end of my interaction with Formless, it provided structured data. I mean, I could get something like because I was worried that at the end of my interaction, well, I'd have these blobs of text and wouldn't know what to do with it. But it was nice to see that, I had a little CSV thing where I could see all the responses to stuff. How do people use the data after they're done with it? I noticed there are some different support for different types of analytics for the data. What do you recommend, and what are different ways that people can extract data out of once you've talked to, I say, like thousands of customers? How do you make use of that information?
Yeah, I guess this is your typical lead experience where the data goes after the form. Right now we have a Zapier integration, so with this that opens up connection with thousands of other applications, and so you can easily imagine that someone interacts with you on the form, you qualify this lead, and then if they're qualified, and this is like something that like Formless can calculate for you, then you send a Slack notification in your sales team or whoever's in charge of those leads to like reach back quickly, act on it. There's someone interested. If it's not qualified, then you have another pass and you'll be like, well, we'll add it to the backlog for things like this. So you can imagine like very complex workflow. Right now, this is just like a one-time thing, but you can add it to your database on Airtable, run some scripts that would be like product feedback. So does this issue already exist in the product feedback backlog that we have? If it does, add it there, just a +1. Don't create a new one if it already exists. Like you can imagine very complex things.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. And is that so? Are you saying that I could tap into OpenAI even more, like after I have the data, to help me make decisions about, whether to surface the data at different places, whether this is, as you mentioned, a qualified lead, how to use the information? These are like, if I'm now tapping into like a Zapier integration, I can pull in other sorts of integrations and be able to use it. That's amazing.
Yeah, because once you're in Zapier, then you can also use their connectors that they have with OpenAI.
Yep.
So it'd be like, get even more insights, extract data, extract topics. Like I think we can do a lot of it in Formless already. But what you need to connect, what you need to expand from it, you can probably use Zapier for that.
I was really surprised and delighted when I had a conversation with the chatbot. Having a conversation with Formless, it would send back a little email summary. and provide it. And it was kind of like, I admit it, I messed with the with Formless. I tried not to answer questions. I didn't want to give my email. I talked about random stuff, and it like picked up on that, and it actually provided the summary information about that. So I was surprised how intelligently it kind of noticed that I was trying to mess with the system, and it pointed it out and said that about me, which I was impressed that I was able to figure that out. So I'm not sure I'm not sure there's a question there. I was just, again, surprised by the level of understanding that I got out of, Formless when it was looking at the information.
This is a notification you get as the owner of the Formless. Once someone answers your form, you want to know what they've said, and instead of giving you the whole conversation, because this could be cumbersome, because obviously you have people that want to play with it and be like, well, you need my email, what for, what are you going to send me, I don't want to get spam. And then, it's funny when you do this, because then the form is trying to argue, be like, well, do you want to be notified about your product updates?
Right.
Yes, you do. Well, we need your email. And so depending on how long that loop is, the email notification of like, this is the whole conversation we had with this person, could be really long. And so instead of having that, it's all summarized. It also gives you a glimpse, so if this is an interesting person, you should follow up really quickly, again, via this summary, or you just let it go. It was just someone playing around.
Yeah, no, I like how you can specify whether fields are required or not, and after, like, you can make email required, and that's just relentless. I mean, it won't let you move on until you give the email. I mean, it's nice about it, but it's like always brings back the conversation to the email address, which I think is very clever. So I have to ask what the next evolution looks like for here, because we're sort of like a journey, right? We started with Typeform, very straightforward, form, and then we're moving into this more formless territory, and with the idea that things are getting more conversational. This is a more natural way of doing things. How do you see like this evolving into the future? I mean, is there a further journey here? What are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at formats, there's so many other things to be done, like either different question types, better supports for multi-languages. Right now, it does a thing where if you have the form in French and it takes you in English, it does all the conversation for you. Like, it detects that. It gives you the option when you start interacting. Even does the translation. It was like, I don't understand what you're telling me. It's like, oh, you speak that language. Let me switch. But there's probably some other stuff to be done there. There's some other stuff to do also on like the prompting of this. Right now we have two modes. One that it's a more guided experience where you provide details about what you need to ask, who you are, what's the welcome screen, all those things. And then one where it's more open, that has more context. And so you can define a lot of things there. So depending on your use case, you might want to use one or the other. Some stuff are possible in this more open space that are not available in the more constrained space. And so seeing how we can enable that. There's some stuff also about the branding, like we're really much on the design and how that should look like. Where can you embed this form afterwards, like very much what we do with Typeform, and also questions about how we bring the two together, because there's some advantage on both sides. So yeah, between those things, still very early.
Still very early. Yeah, and one of the things I've liked when I keep going back and looking at Formless again, and it feels like there's new features in it every time I look at it. So I can tell it's evolving quickly, which is fun too, to see it develop. And
yeah, it's a team that ships a lot of stuff very quickly, and they're very close to the customer, so they want to know what's going on.
Yeah,
and build a product that people want. Yeah.
And so I have to ask: is your main target audience for Formless? Is it enterprises? Does it make sense for startups to use it? Who's like the, I don't know, who would it be appropriate to use Formless?
Yeah, I think it's SMBs, marketers, people that are looking to interact with their customers in a different way. We also have seen people that are into education that want to use this as a way to build interactive quiz or test knowledge. But yeah, I will say mostly small businesses, people in the marketing space that would replace their typical forms, recommendation form, lead quiz, anything that's like, I'll give you an ebook at the end of this if you first answer this form. This type of interaction.
Nice. So any place you do use a form right now, get rid of it, use Formless instead, stick Formless in. That's awesome. Well,
yeah,
so,
or any like also on the training side. Sorry, on the training side, because you can train it. So anywhere you would need an FAQ that's a bit more than just like 5 questions. This could be your small AI engine where you don't need to, like, if you had to build this yourself, that could be complicated. You would need a developer. Well, like here, you give a bit of basic information, some bunch of PDFs about your event, the company, the pricing, whatever, and then you have a small agent for you.
That's awesome. So you get rid of having to have a dedicated customer support kind of engine or other kind of software solution. You could use this as the
you let them focus on the harder topics, and so the first level is handled by
all the.
Let's not get rid of people.
No. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get rid of it. No. I mean the horrible front end technology that people are using right now. Yeah, still has to. The AI still has to get the information somewhere. So not trying to threaten any jobs here. So where can people learn more about Formless? What's the next step? What do you advise them to do? How do you go about learning about this and seeing if it fits in with what they're trying to do right now?
Yeah, so Formless.ai, create an account. If you already have a Typeform account, you can use the same account. And then we have a bunch of templates that you can use and try to personalize for yourself. I will say go explore. It's a lot of like right now, I think that's the part that's like everything in AI. It's a lot of like try and errors, specifically on like, the way it's asking the question, the way, so like finding out the right tone, finding out the way, like when you do multiple choices, when you try to do a bit of logic, like for example, I put it on my website, and I think this is how we got in touch is, when you try to reach out to me, I have like different branches, depending on like, if you try to reach out to talk about Typeform and my regular job stuff, if you want to talk about some product hunt stuff that I'm doing, if you want to talk about like, if you have a job for me, like I have different options because the information I'm going to ask is not the same, right? And so finding out how to build this logic, how to specify it, which things I should to put first in the prompt and which thing I should put last, that was try and errors.
Yeah.
And so,
and it's also a lot of fun, I should throw in, because you get to play with tone and you get to argue with Formless as you're building it. So I also really love the pop-up videos that come up when you're they explain the different features. Those are super useful. I'm confused, and then this person pops up and tells me how to use it, which I also appreciate. So awesome.
You're not by yourself. We're here to help you out.
I appreciate that. Well, and I really appreciate you taking the time today, Nicholas, to walk us through it. I'm excited about this product. I've had fun with it. I can see a lot of websites taking advantage of this just because, again, get rid of the boring chatbot experience, get rid of old, forms, get Formless on there instead. I think it's a fun product to use, and I think it would be fun for your customers as well. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Put it on, we have a community on community.typeform.com. Share it. Tell us what you've built. And we want to hear from you. We want to be part of the excitement.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the OpenAI Changes Everything podcast, where we explore how OpenAI is transforming the future of humanity. Please remember to subscribe to ensure that you receive future episodes.